Hi everyone, how are you doing today? I and my buddy Joe English are sending our regards. And so let me ask Joe, what should we be doing today, Joe? Discuss some questions about Orwell's shooting an elephant. Okay, let's do that. And so let's share the PowerPoint. Okay, okay. So Uh, in a previous VED, we explained and discussed some things about shooting an elephant, which is written by George Orwell. And today we continue another video trying to answer some questions about shooting an elephant. George Orwell lived in the period between 1903 and 1950, the first half of the 20th century. Okay, and so let's start with uh, the first questions. What was the narrator's job? Subdivisional police officer of the town. Yes. How was the anti-European feeling in Burma? We are talking about Burma when it was under the British rule, about the 1920s. Okay, it was a better feeling. No one has guts or bravery to raise a right or protest. If a European woman went through the bazaars alone, somebody would probably spit beetle juice over her dress. So generally speaking, the Burmese didn't like the British or the Europeans generally to be in Burma, and they wanted them out. They suffered from poverty and lack of freedom. They expressed that by uh, sometimes shouting at people, sometimes spitting beetle juice over the European people's cloth, and so on. Okay, so generally speaking, they didn't like the Europeans and the British being in Burma, and they wanted them out of there. Okay, how was Orwell treated as a police officer? As a police officer, he was an obvious target, and uh, okay, he was baited whenever it seemed safe to do so. Okay, when he passed by the Burmese, they hooted insults after him, especially when he was at a safe distance. So, generally speaking, as I said, they didn't like anybody representing the British or the Europeans, and they wanted these people out of their country. Okay, how about the Buddhist priests? The young Buddhist priests were worst of all. There were several thousands of them all over the place in town, and none of them seemed to have anything to do except stand on the street corners and jeer at Europeans, insulting them, or trying to spit beetle juice on them. Okay, were the Burmese pro-European or anti-European? Illustrate. Well, the Burmese were anti-European. They were against Europeans, and they used every possible opportunity to make life difficult for the British. For example, they would spit Beetlejuice on them or yell insults at them. And why was that? Because uh, you know Burma and India were under the British rule during the 1920s, and nobody, uh, Burmese or Indian, wanted that to continue, especially in Burma. And Orwell wrote this to, kind of record people's feelings and, their impression about having the British in their country. And the elephant here is symbolic of the British Empire and how it's going to decline and lose the countries that were under its rule one by one. And Orwell himself, when he wrote Shooting an Elephant, there was an apparent paradox, as we explained in a previous vid, between his own ideas and his own beliefs that were against colonialism and imperialism and were pro-freedom and freedom of thought, freedom of, to choose and do what you want as a person or as a country. And the other thing was, so this was paradox between that, his own beliefs and ideas, and the situation where he lived, or the fact where he lived in Burma and worked as a police officer representing the British rule, which was representing of colonialism or imperialism he himself hates and was against. So this is an apparent paradox in shooting an elephant. And as we also explained before, the elephant is symbolic of the British Empire at the time, and the death of the elephant, or is symbolic of the declining power of that empire, and that it was going to lose the countries that was under its rule. Okay, so keep reading literature and enjoy, because literature is a mirror of life at the time it was written. It expresses, uh, political, religious, social, beliefs, and this was affected by the time it was written and the circumstances that were going on. It's a good record of how people felt at the time in Burma about the British and the British rule and the Europeans in general. And so, also, literature is a good way to practice your English. English and culture or literature are inseparable. You can't learn the language in isolation. Language is affected and affects culture and literature. And also, so it's a good way if you want to have a good uh, command of English and understand about English culture is to read literature. Pick a piece of literature that you like, such as a novel, short story, or a drama, and read that. And you have some of the best themes or main ideas that appeal to human beings whenever and wherever they are, even if that genres of literature were written hundreds of years back, but you feel that they are still relevant because such famous writers succeeded in addressing certain themes and ideas that appeal to human beings at all times. Okay, so keep on reading, and we will be discussing some genres of literature, some works of literature, whenever that is possible, and that's dedicated to learners of English whenever and wherever they are. Thank you. We'll meet in the next one.